Do the gods favor our attack? Ollin said eagerly. Ask to Pilsen, said the muscular one. The gods do not speak to me. Not since... He grabbed his armor. To Pilsen the priest? Said Ollin. What does he know of war? Ollin helped Nochehautl tie on his armor. He knows the god of war well, said Nochehautl. But does the god of war know him? Ollin grinned. The god of war knows us, said Nochehautl. That's all that matters. Not long later, Nochehautl walked past short, naked troops. They stared at him with a mixture of fear and admiration. Nochehautl stopped in front of the eagle warriors. Behind him came their hushed whispers of Noche, Noche, Noche. He frowned, held up his hand, and made a decisive thrust forward. The old farmer welcomed the first rays of dawn that pierced the valley. The poor old man dug up a yucca root and added it to a small pile. At last he would be able to see his work now. Like a bad omen, a shadow fell across the sun. The farmer looked up. The silhouette of a great eagle towered above him. Ah! Cried as terror gripped his weak heart. He dropped his hoe and ran towards the city, shouting in alarm. All around the statue-like figure appeared common warriors. One of them blew a conch shell. Others beat drums. Still others yelled and jeered at the fleeing farmers. Flanks of common warriors practiced their spear throwing, stone slinging, archery, and poison dart blowing on the unarmed retreating farmers. They also threw atlatls, sticks designed to throw javelins farther and more accurately than simple spears. They required skill rather than strength alone. The old farmer felt a javelin hit him. He collapsed onto his side. Looking at his belly, he saw a jagged razor tip protruding. To pull it out backwards would cause more damage than it caused going in. He thought of his old wife in the city. He hoped that they would kill her quickly. It would be much better for her than the sacrifices. The eagle warriors stood behind Nochehautl. They wore brightly colored cotton armor hung with feathers. Feathers hung from their round, colorfully painted shields. Nochehautl turned his head to the left. Ollin and his leopard warriors crouched in the ferns. Ollin nodded. Nochehautl took a step forward. The eagle warriors paraded slowly and proudly toward the main entrance of the city. A young farmer tripped in front of them. He would make a good sacrifice. A warrior cut his hamstring. He grabbed his ankle and cried in pain. 2 common warriors dragged him out of the way. Behind the eagle warriors came the shorn ones. They advanced one step at a time, chanting slowly. They were seasoned veterans. Their heads were shaved except for a lock behind the left ear. Their faces were painted half blue and the other half red or yellow. They had taken vows to never retreat a single step. The city inhabitants stood on the walls, shooting arrows, slinging stones, throwing spears, and dropping large rocks. One of the shorn ones looked at them. He felt that premonition of death shared by countless soldiers. Heedless of his vow, he faltered and panicked. His fellow soldiers disposed of him on the spot. They continued their slow march and low chanting without a glance back. By this time, the eagle warriors had arrived at the entrance to the city. The guards formed a makeshift defense. Their best warriors stood in the entrance with whatever arms and armor they could grab from nearby repositories. They engaged the eagle warrior. Several city guards fell. Finally, an eagle warrior succumbed to their persistent onslaught. "Back!" shouted Nochehautl, raising his Nochehautl. Not one of the eagle warriors dared to disobey. They retreated. "Come on!" yelled a young and brave city guard. "For the dead of our city!" 2 of his friends lay lifeless at his feet. His battle blood boiled. Several of the younger guards followed him. The older guards vainly tried to hold them back. "It's a trap!" one of them yelled. Few of the younger guards heeded his cries. Some wanted fame, others revenge. More likely they would find a merciless death. Ollin and the leopard warriors lit torches. They sprang from their hiding places, yelping like coyotes. They were shock troops. They sprinted to the city entrance. They quickly broke through the remaining guards at the city gate. They ran down the main street, wreaking havoc on every side and killing all who opposed them. They headed straight for the temple. They fought their way up the pyramid steps. They massacred the unarmed priests at the top of the pyramid. Then they set fire to the temple. On the far edge of the city, a farmer saw the smoke rising from the temple. He turned to the young boy beside him. "Look, Manoah, our city is already taken. Hurry through the back pass to the hills. Go to your uncles in the land of Ishmael. I will find your mother. Run!" "No, Papi," said the young boy, crying as if his heart had just broken. "We will come to you," said the farmer. "Be brave. Now go." He pushed the young boy. The little legs ran with anxiety. The farmer picked his way through the city around enemy warriors. He sneaked through an alley. He ran across a street teeming with invaders. He entered into a small hut. "Yuretsi," he whispered. Only stillness answered his call. His heart sank. The farmer sneaked out of the hut. He ran down another alley. Enemy warriors walked past the opening. He jumped behind a wall, waiting until the voices and footsteps faded. He sneaked up to the corner of the building. He peeked around. He saw a line of prisoners. A young woman stood in line. "Yuretsi," he breathed before he could stop himself. He turned around to leave, but a large, scowling warrior blocked his way. The farmer was so surprised that he fell into the street. Enemy warriors surrounded the farmer. He held up his hands. At least he would be reunited with his wife. He would be brave for her sake. Ollin leaned on a spear and gazed over the city from the top of the pyramid. The remains of the temple smoldered behind him. He bit into an apple, plunder from the priest's breakfast. From his perch he could see common warriors cleaning up the last pockets of resistance and rounding up remains of the frightened inhabitants. He heard voices coming up the stairs. He threw away the apple and stood at attention. Nochehautl huge form came into view over the edge of the pyramid. His eyes pierced the smoke. His jaw was set in a permanent frown. His face could have been a statue except for his nostrils flaring with each long drawn-out breath. He surveyed the dead priests and the burning temple. His followers waited silently. The jaguar warrior stood still. "It is done, then," was all the mighty warrior said. He was a man of few words. "Another victory for the gods," said Ollin. "For the gods," said Nochehautl, staring at Ollin with a raised eyebrow, "or for the priests?" An uneasy smile spread across Ollin's face. Nochehautl's mouth straightened to show the slightest grin. Ollin burst out laughing. "Come," he said, pointing down the pyramid. "Our victory feast awaits." 2000, A Stripling Warrior's Story. Now available on Amazon.com.